Welcome to the podcast, buddy. How are you?
Thank you. Good. And you?
Good. So, Izzy's like your nickname, right?
Yeah, it is.
So,
Just a short name because some people have a hard time to pronounce my name. And then they come with this nickname. Actually, I like it.
what's your full name?
Ismael Davis Lara de Moura. It's a long name.
Whew, that is a long one, eh? Cool. So, you live in the Toronto area?
Yes, I do.
And you've been living there for how long?
In Toronto, probably close to 3 years.
3 years. And before that, you were in Vancouver?
Yes, I live in Vancouver for about 6 years.
All right, cool. So you've been in Canada for almost 10 years.
Yeah, it's going to be 10 years in October this year.
Wow, crazy, man. I didn't know you've been in Canada for that long. So, and you were born in Brazil.
Yes, I was born in Brazil, raised there.
How old are you?
I'm 36 now.
All right. Huh. Cool. All right. So let's go back to, I want to know about Brazil. And like, I have never been to Brazil. I don't know a lot about, I don't know too much about the country. So maybe you can tell me a little bit about like where you were born in relation to some of the bigger cities that people would know, and just like what it was like growing up there, and then how you got into flying in Brazil, because you started flying in Brazil, right?
Yeah, I did.
All right, cool. So where were you born in Brazil?
So I was born in a city called Belo Horizonte.
Okay.
This city is the third city, the biggest city in Brazil. So first São Paulo, and you have Rio de Janeiro, and then you have Belo Horizonte. I grew up in a farm, more like a hobby farm. So my parents, I always playing outside, didn't have computers. I didn't have video games. My first computer I got when I was 14 years old. So I don't complain about that. I have so much fun playing outside with friends, running around. So the area where I grew up were just farms. And most of the guys, my neighbors were boys, so I have so much fun. I used to play soccer, of course. That's the main sport in Brazil. I used to play a lot of soccer every day.
And, are you a good soccer player?
I'm in the media. Like I say, I'm okay. It's not the greatest one. I'm okay.
Do you play any hockey?
No, I haven't. The only hockey I tried to play was with rollerblades, inline hockey.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, it was okay. I had some crashes. That's how it works, right?
Yeah.
When you learn something new.
Well, when we go play hockey sometime, I'll have to find you some hockey equipment. You'll have to come out and play with us sometime.
Yeah, I'd love to try. Yeah,
maybe you can be the goalie. We'll just shoot pucks at you. So, okay, so you grew up kind of in a rural area in Brazil. Cool. And so you lived on this like hobby farm like pretty much your whole life until you were 20. So you're 36 till you were like 26 years old. You lived there?
Yeah, pretty much. I lived there. So, but when I was 18, I got a job that I started traveling around Brazil, and I lived in São Paulo for a few years. I lived in Rio de Janeiro, like working. But yeah, pretty much I grew up on that hobby farm.
What did you get a job doing when you were 18?
I work as a vibration analyst. So pretty much I was just doing vibration analysis in equipment, for industrial equipment like gearboxes, engines, turbines, nothing related to aviation. That's one of the ways I found to raise money for my passion. That we're going to talk a little bit more. That's aviation.
Cool. Brazil is a fairly like natural resource rich country, right?
It is a lot of mining company, oil and gas.
What country do you think is bigger, Brazil or Australia? Land-wise.
It's hard. Probably very close. Probably Brazil, maybe a little bit bigger.
Yeah, it is. Brazil's bigger than Australia. It was a sort of a fun fact that I learned the other day that So crazy. People don't think of it as being that big because it's kind of part of its own, part of another continent, right? But it's
Yeah,
actually
exactly.
a very large country.
Yeah, like just the Amazon itself is like it's almost half of the country.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, it's huge.
When was the last time you were back to Brazil?
I went back beginning of the year just before the pandemic.
Oh yeah. Wow. Cool. So all right. So you're 18 years old. You got your first job. You haven't started flying yet, right?
No, I haven't.
All right. So when did you get started flying, and when did you know you wanted to start flying?
I knew that I wanted to start to fly when I was 12 years old. So just to give you a little bit story. I was sitting in my mom's backyard, lying down, watching the skies.
Hmm.
And I was watching some birds flying. And I said to myself, that could be fun, like fly, seeing the worlds from above. That'd be so interesting, right? And since then, I had a dream of flying. But in Brazil, to get a pilot license by then and even now is expensive. Not that everybody can afford. I would say in Canada, North America is easier, a little bit easier. So it was not easy. And my parents didn't have too much money to help me with my dream, my license, right?
Mm.
So then when I was around 14, I started playing with RC models.
Mm.
That's one of my hobbies. We're going to talk a little bit later. So, but I didn't have money enough to buy my RC models. So I have to start building my own RC models. So just reading magazines and get some advice from people who already flew RC models. And I started building. I had so many failures, so many. I don't know how many airplanes I broke when I started. So yeah, like even when I started, my brothers, I have three brothers. They started with me. They give up because we broke so many airplanes, and it's not cheap to build them, right? So I have to cut my neighbor's grass. I have to do a lot of work to raise money. So, but I said to myself, "Now that's my passion. I'm gonna continue. I'm not giving up. Doesn't matter how many airplanes I will break. I will learn how to fly these RC models." So yeah, then that happened. After a couple of years, I started flying, enjoying more because I stopped breaking the airplanes. And I decided, okay, I think I like that. I think I want to become a pilot. But as I said, in Brazil, it's hard to become a pilot. So I decided to become a aircraft mechanic in Brazil, at least to be closer to the airplanes and try to raise some money, maybe get some contacts, right? And to fly. So, and when I was 15 years old, I went to a college to get my license, my mechanic license. So I did a 3 years program, and when I graduated, I did my internship with the Brazilian Air Force for 6 months. And when I graduated, it was right after the 11th September when they have that the airplanes crashing the twin towers in US,
Yeah.
right? And there were not many jobs at that time. So
Yeah.
the aviation went down, like nothing too much, right? They just graduated from college. And I had the opportunity to work for this engineering company. A friend of mine invited me to work there that, as a vibration analyst. But I didn't know anything about how to do this, vibration analysis. So, but the money was good. So I could grow within the companies pretty quick, depends how fast I learn, right? So I study, I did a lot of studying, I pushed myself and I learned pretty quick the job. And I started going up in the company. So got a point that also I was enjoying what I was doing as well, the part of engineering.
Mm-hmm.
And I say, okay, that's good. I like doing this, but still aviation is my passion. But I'm gonna save as much money as I can to start flying. That's what happened. So I started working for this company, as I said, when I was 18 years old. And when I started flying when I was about 22 years old. some people will say, "Oh, that's too old." Depends. That's up to you. It's not never old for do anything, right? People say, "Oh," but I think some people start when they are 16, 17. By 22, some people already are captain in some airlines, right? But yes, there is that's in your mind. There is no way that say, "Oh, that's too old." Don't listen to people saying that. That's,
Good advice.
right? And I started flying when I was 22, and I got my private license in Brazil, and I was planning to get my commercial license. And then I thought, okay, so if I get my commercial license, if I want to do something more, I need to learn English. So in the company, I used to speak a little bit English, like more technical English for the job I used to do, but not too much. Not like I couldn't have a conversation like we're having now in English. And I decided, okay, I have some other money. I save a little bit more extra. I go to another country to learn the language because that's the easiest way to learn, right? When you are in an environment that you have to speak the language to survive, there is no other way. And then I did some research. I was looking between Australia, Africa, and Canada. And I thought, okay, Africa will be a bit cheaper. Australia will be nice too. It's a beautiful country. I've never been there, but I heard. But the weather is pretty close to what you have in Brazil. I want to see snow. I never saw snow, right? And I said, okay, maybe I'm gonna go to Canada. So okay, let's now see which city in Canada we're going. I'm going to, right? So I did more research and I read people talking about Vancouver. The gorgeous place, beautiful. If you like outdoor sports, it's mountain biking, skiing, that's the perfect place to be. Hiking, yeah, sure. And it's okay, it could be a great opportunity. And then I can learn even how to ski. So that'd be awesome, fun. So I apply. By that time, I was in the university studying mechanical engineering. I stopped university and applied to come to Canada. First time, I was refused. The government said no. So I couldn't come the first time. And it's okay. One more failure in my life, that's okay. So, but I'm going to try again. And after a couple months, I try again. And they approve. Oh, awesome. That's the thing. You can never give up just because you have one or two failures. You have to keep trying.
Yeah.
So that's why I think I see people, they see one obstacle in front of them. They say, oh, no, that's going to be too hard. Don't give up. Always keep trying. So many successful people fail so many times before they succeed. Like that's fact. There's so many people there. So then I got approved.
So was this for immigrating to Canada or permanent residency?
No, just to come as a student.
As a student. Oh, okay.
As a student. Because,
where? What school?
I think the school already is closed. It doesn't exist anymore. But it was an English school in Vancouver. My plan was to come to Canada for a year. That was my visa. That's for a year to study English and go back to Brazil and finish my training for commercial pilot, right? Yeah. So I was not even planning to stay here. So, but when I decided to come, I have to quit my job. I stopped studying. I stopped going to university. And I have a lot of friends that, no, you're crazy. You have a good job, have a good life in Brazil. You're leaving everything behind to go to a country. You never know what's going to happen. Yeah, I'm aware of that, but I'm willing to take the risk. And I'm glad I did.
Yeah.
So people say, oh, yeah, but so what's going to happen if you cannot find a job there? I find something to do. No worry. I'm going to survive. I know I can survive there. So yeah, I came to Canada to study English for a year. And I met a guy from Brazil as well in Vancouver. He was studying to become a pilot in Vancouver. And I asked him, like, oh, can I go and there and then just try to see like, if I can learn something here? It would be nice for my resume in Brazil. I can do my ground school in Canada, right? I said, yeah, sure. You can go to the flight school and check with them if you can join us. and I had a student visa, so that will be not any problem.
So at this point, you've got a private pilot's license from Brazil.
Yes,
Right.
I did, yeah. But I was not planning at all to fly in Canada. My plan was just to study English and maybe go to do my ground school here just to learn a little bit more English, aviation English, and go back to Brazil. So yeah, and I went to this flight school and I started studying there. And one of the flight instructors says, "No, do you want to go for a flight?" I went, "Wow, really? Yeah, sure, let's go for a flight." And I went for a flight here. And but by that time, I went to this flight school. I had finished my English school. I went to for 3 months for the English school, and I went for a flight here. It's okay, let's fly. And when I did the flight, I couldn't understand like nothing on the radio. Like I thought my English was good before I flew. Like no. I went for this flight, and he was talking the radio of ATC, and say, "No, my English is terrible. I cannot understand. I what are they saying? Like really, they speak too fast." And
so the school you went to, it was just like it wasn't like aviation specific English then, was it? It was
no. It's a flight school.
No, like the English school.
Oh no, it was not aviation school. No, it was regular just English school. Yeah,
right. Okay.
Just to learn the basic, right? To have a conversation, say hi, good morning.
Right. So you didn't have this database of aviation language to use in the plane, and it's a specific type of language that you use when you're talking on the radio, right? Not the same as when you talk to somebody like you and I are talking right now.
Like it's totally different. Like
yeah,
another word, right? And I said, wow, yeah, I don't know if I'm going to be able even to fly here one day. Like, this language is totally crazy. And I said, yeah. So then I met my wife and I decided to stay here in Canada. I said, okay, well, let's try to stay. Maybe I can try to get my license here. But before, I need to learn that aviation language. But there is no way I went to Google, I tried to find a few places that I could learn, but I couldn't find anything. I found some books you can read, and they teach you like some phrases in the aviation. But there is nothing like you're gonna like make your life easier to understand the language. Yeah, I have to do a lot of reading. And what I did, I was recording myself and listening to myself to see if I could understand, right? Because it's not about just understanding, also it's about talking the radio, if they will understand me, all right? Because when you speak another language, English is not my first language, we have accent. There is no, that's fact. We have an accent. And another thing is, for people who are listening, who they link English is not the first language, don't be shamed. So if you have accent, don't be shamed. So if you don't understand, just ask again. If they don't understand, they're gonna ask you to repeat. Just say again, right? And one of my mistakes was when I start flying here, I try to be like the Canadians, but they speak so fast, clear, right? Of course, English is the mother language. I try to speak the same way, fast, try to impress, but yeah, didn't work. So just try to be, just slow and your pace. Like you have accent. You have to accept that. We immigrants have accent. So yeah, so that's. So then I'm just back in why I decided to stay here. I met my wife. By that time, I started dating. And then she said, "Oh, you should try to apply to be a permanent resident." I said, "Yeah, but how hard is that?" Yeah, it's not easy.
No.
But because you have some background in Brazil, such as engineering and all this schooling, so that might be helpful, right? So yeah, let's try to apply. So by that time, I was very close. My visa was very close to expire. So it was the beginning of the year. Because I came in October 2011, that's October 2012. And I sent all the application, was a lot of work. And yeah, and then and by the time that expired, I couldn't do anything. I couldn't study. I couldn't work. I couldn't leave the country. I have to wait for my application, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I was not illegal. I was in a process here, but I have to wait. Even going to school, I couldn't because my work student visa expired at that time. So I couldn't wait. I have to wait for probably my application took about 7-8 months.
Yeah, you've probably noticed that the Canadian government isn't exactly quick.
No, actually, people say it takes about 2 years to get your PR.
Yeah.
People say it takes about 2 years.
Yeah.
Say, wow, that's a long time. I have to wait 2 years without working. So I'm glad I had my wife by the time of my girlfriend. She helped me a lot going through that. So it's nice when you have someone to help you.
Yeah.
Because when I came here, I didn't have family. I left everybody behind.
Yeah.
Right.
I've been through it too. Like my wife's Korean, and I went through the permanent residency application for her from Korea to get her in here. And
but you know how is that?
It's quite lengthy, and it takes a lot of time, and it costs a lot of money. And then there's a waiting period. And whether or not, maybe you didn't know if you were going to be approved or not, but I was fairly certain she would be approved because I was her sponsor and we were married at the time. So, but I am familiar with the process, and it is quite lengthy for sure. So obviously, you got your permanent resident card.
Yeah. So my process took about 7-8 months.
Yeah.
I couldn't believe it because every time after 5 months, I started calling. Government of Canada to check my process, right?
Yeah.
They said, "Oh, it's still in process. You cannot say anything about it, right?"
Yeah.
So he said it could take takes up to 2 years for the process.
Yeah.
Said, oh yeah, okay. So 2 years is a long time. But talking to all the people, actually my process was pretty quick. 7 months for my process since I applied. As I said, I think what helped me was my background in Brazil.
Mm-hmm.
What I used to do, and then I went to university in Brazil.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't finish my degree, but I went more than halfway through. So yeah, that helped me a lot. So then I got my PR. So awesome. Now I'm set to start flying, and I can start working to get some money as well. Because even in Canada, it's not cheap to fly.
No.
It's easier than Brazil for sure. We have more options, but it's not cheap.
No.
So I have to find a job. I found jobs to raise money to fly. And
so what'd you do?
I worked for a golf course as a mechanic.
Oh yeah.
For about 2 years.
Yeah.
Yeah. Nothing
working
related.
on golf carts?
Yeah, golf carts. Yeah, mowers, tractors.
Cool.
I like work. I like work with my hands.
Yeah.
So I have a lot of skills with my hands too. So that helped me a lot. And then after that, I worked for Canada Post as a mechanic as well.
Oh, really?
For about 4 years.
So where was your English level at this point?
Was a little bit better because when I was working at the golf course, so there were so many good people over there, like the owner, people who used to work there.
Yeah.
They was help me in my English. Every time I would say something wrong, they would correct me. They would help me with no, that's not the right way to say, that's the right way. Or some word I didn't know what that means. They will help me. Okay, you explain to me. Actually, they helped me a lot on that.
Awesome. It's good to hear.
Yeah. And beside that, I was studying, like reading books.
So how did you develop the vocabulary, like the aviation-specific vocabulary?
Reading a lot.
Like what were you reading? Like what kind of, you weren't reading like Nav Canada publications? Were you reading like sort of, I don't know, just books about aviation stories, or like what exactly were you reading?
Books about radio phrases, like how do you speak on the radio? Like say, there is a book.
Technical books.
Books, yeah.
Technical though, they were technical.
Technical.
Okay.
Just how to speak on the radio.
Yeah.
Let's say, you just give an example. Let's say you say Toronto Tower this is 7150 Alpha Bravo Charlie Delta at 3,500 feet, 5 miles out, inbound free stop, something like that, just for me to practice.
Yep.
And what I would do, I read and write them everything. And I bought a handheld radio just to listen the tower. I used to live beside the airport in Vancouver. And every time I would be at home, I would turn my radio on and listen. I will listen on the radio and try to reply, saying that I was the pilot in command. Let's say someone is talking the radio and they say that they are 5 miles out, and I will try, or their ATC will give me a clearance, like a control airspace. I will try to reply all the time. And I will record myself and listen to see how was my if I could understand myself. But I did a lot. Like, it was a lot of reading.
Yeah, it's hard work. Learning a language is like, I don't speak two languages fluently. I've grew up in Canada, and we learned French when we were in school. And I don't know, it's kind of, some people kind of have kind of a negative connotation towards learning French at times. And I'm sure sometimes French people have a bit of a negative connotation about learning English at some time, especially in schools when it's forced on you. But I also spent time in Korea, and I wish I speak a little bit of Korean, but like, it's difficult, and the dedication that it takes to learn that language, and like, just feeling like, like the feeling you get when you're trying to speak, when you're not very good at a language and you're trying to speak with native speakers, it's intimidating.
It is.
And you just got to keep going, right? Like, don't worry.
Some days I will come home, like when I was working the golf course, I will come home so frustrated because sometimes I couldn't speak. I don't know, because I think I was so tired. My brain, was like burning, trying to learn another language and working and trying to raise money to fly. I will come sometimes from work, and I'll be like, oh, I don't know. I think I'll never learn this language.
Yeah.
It's so hard. And but as I said, it's a lot of dedication. For everything, is dedication, hard work. And some days you're going to feel like, oh, yeah, no, I cannot do this. Just get up and try again.
Yeah,
right?
Highs and lows, just peaks and valleys. Yeah, I got it.
And then, so I raised some money and I started flying. Awesome. And I went to Transport Canada to check if I could use my hours from Brazil, because Brazil and Canada use the same organization, IKEO.
Yeah.
And I went to Transport Canada in Vancouver. This lady was super nice to me. She's an immigrant as well. And she was to Transport Canada. I said, no, yeah, you just need this paperwork, your logbook from Brazil, your pilot license from Brazil, and you have to do an English test here.
Yeah.
Another test called P-Star. And then, you set to fly, to start flying here. Awesome, that's great, good news. So then I got all my paperwork done. I sent to them. I have to translate a few documents because they were in Portuguese.
Yeah.
I have to pay an official translator. I sent to Transport Canada, and I did all the exams. But I have to do a radio exam, and there are several levels. I think the max is 6.
Yes.
By the time I got 4, that's the minimum at least to start flying Canada.
Yes.
The guy gave me 4. The guy gave me 4, but like was a little pushing me. So because I was still not confident on the radio, right? The exam is pretty simple. Just the examiner just simulates a conversation on the radio, right? So
yeah.
Let's say you are talking about ATC.
Yeah.
And he said, Mel, I'll give you 4. So just keep practicing and try to fly more often, and then you're eventually gonna get better at that. So I got my Brazilian license converted to Canadian license. Now I have my PPL in Canada. Awesome. But the flight schools will not rent me aircraft because my English was not like the best one. And I remember one day flying to this Canadian flight instructor. And I was flying to him, and he's like, after the flight, he says, Mel, I think you should learn more English before flying. Or after that day, like I say, like, you know what? I don't think I'm gonna be able to fly here. That's so hard to learn. Like because kind of he put me low a little bit down, the instructor, saying that my English was terrible, I couldn't fly, that I have to go back to school before I start flying again. And I said to myself, I'm gonna prove to him that he's totally wrong. I'm gonna be able to fly here. Like I'm not going back to school. I'm gonna do whatever I have to do, but I'm gonna be able to fly here. So yeah, again, I went back to books, start listening again to on the radio. Even there is an app you can get on your phone.
Yeah.
Well, so you can listen any radio frequency in the world.
Sometimes you need to run into people like that who basically tell you like it is, even though you don't want to hear it, right?
Exactly.
Because as much as you were pissed off at that guy, you're like, screw him, right? Like, who is this guy? Why is he making me feel like this? Obviously, now you've remembered him and it kind of lit a fire under your ass and you're like, I'm going to prove this guy wrong, right? And clearly you did.
Yeah, so sometimes because you have to accept all the feedbacks, the good ones, especially the bad ones. You don't have to see as a bad feedback as just like as something you have to improve, as an improvement feedback.
Yeah.
Don't think as a bad feedback. By that time, I just took as a like bad feedback.
Yeah.
Right. But nowadays I look back and say, no, that's not the actual bad feedback. That feedback pushed me. Right.
Yeah.
To get where I am now. So
you continued to study English and then you continued to fly and you were working on your CPL in Vancouver?
Yeah. So by that time I changed my instructor. I didn't like that instructor. I changed my instructor but I was flying like not too often. I fly maybe like once every 2 weeks because I didn't have too much money, right?
Yeah.
I have to pay rent, food, all the expenses we have to, the living expenses, right?
Yeah.
So because I will not fly often, I couldn't like practice too much my aviation language, English. And I said, okay, I have to raise my money because the golf course was nice. I did not make too much money there. And that's when I saw that posting for Canada Post and I applied. And then people said to me, oh, working for Canada Post is hard to get in. Like, it's almost impossible. You have to know someone inside. I'm going to try. It doesn't hurt. And actually, they invite me for an interview. And after the interview, I have to do some tests, and I was hired. And some people couldn't believe it. So, now, how could you be hired by Canada Post? It's so hard to get in. You just have to trust in yourself. Apply. People say, oh, that company, let's say you want to apply for Air Canada. Oh, it's a big company. They request a lot of hours. Just apply. It doesn't hurt. You have already the no. If you get the no, and it's going to change anything? No, you already have the no before. You didn't have the job. If you don't get the job, it's the same.
Exactly.
Right? But if you don't try, you never know. So, and I started also kind of post, make more money, and I started flying more often. And I started getting better with my English because everything about practicing, right? I started flying more often, practice my English. And one day my instructor says, Mel, okay, I was flying with my instructor. You can land. I'm going to solo you. That was about after like probably 12, 13 hours flying Canada here with the instructor. Practice my English. Says, Mel, you're a very good pilot. And I don't think just speak slowly in the radio. If you don't understand, ask again. Mm-hmm. But I'm going to send you solo. Oh, but that day I was like, my legs were shaking. I was so sweating, Probably, do you remember your first solo flight? Probably was the same, no?
Yeah, I remember my first one. I just remember thinking, I can't believe these guys are actually going to let me, take the plane without anybody else in it. Like, are you sure? But I obviously didn't have any. I learned in a more rural area, and there, the only traffic I really had to worry about was just like, I don't know, other people in the circuit, I suppose. Like, there wasn't really a lot of traffic like outside of the circuit. I learned in Manitoba is where I learned. But I obviously didn't have the added pressure of making sure that I was like intelligible on the radio. You know what I mean? Like people could understand me. Like obviously I had problems speaking on the radio. Everybody has those problems, whether or not English is their first language or not. But like just think if English isn't your first language and you're trying to learn the radio, like just think, I can't even imagine how hard that would be, right? So yeah, I remember my first flight, but yeah, I didn't, my knees weren't shaking because I was worried about my English on the radio. My knees were shaking because I was, worried about putting the plane back down on the runway without a problem. So
Yeah. And the airport I was flying, actually very big airport in Vancouver.
Where was this?
Langley.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I know. Like I check out their website a little bit. They've got quite a lot of information there, and
yeah, they do.
And what are they like? They good people there?
Good people, yeah.
Yeah.
I started my training for commercial license there, but I didn't finish there. I finished in Pitt Meadows.
Okay.
Yeah. So when did my instructor send me solo? Oh, as I said, my legs were shaking. I was sweating, and I couldn't believe it. So I lined up the airplane on the runway. I looked the end of the runway. I took a very deep breath. Okay, I can do it. Let's do it. And I remember, I remember exactly I have that vision in my mind. So I look in the end of the runway, did my pre-takeoff checks, everything was good, and I start adding power. Slowly add power, the airplane getting airspeed, and I took off. And I took to the radio, Langley Tower. I don't remember the call sign. It says 172 Alpha Bravo Charlie Tango. Airborne, let's say runway 17 for the circuits, touch and go. And but with a very broken English, right? It was not good as I said to you now. And he told me something, and I couldn't understand what he said. And I thought to myself, I don't understand what he said. He was clearing me like, you are clear for touch and go, right? And I was shy, like, should I ask? Should I not ask? And I said, okay, I'm gonna ask. I asked him probably a couple times. Or by the third time, he was a little bit like, not too much. The guy who was on the tower that day didn't have too much patience. I said, okay, so I'm not asking anymore then. So because I asked a couple times, and I could feel on his voice he was not happy. I mean, asking all the time, and I stopped asking. Right, and because of that situation, even for a while, even if I wouldn't understand, I was afraid to ask again on the radio, because maybe a controller will say like, oh, so if you cannot understand, you should be flying, right? But there are so many controllers out there. They know there are people who English are not their first language. They came here to study, to fly. They're very helpful, very helpful. Not all of them, I would say, but most of them.
That's good.
They understand that. Yeah. So yeah, so I did my flight. I did my first solo. I felt great. Like, oh, I couldn't believe it that I was flying Canada by myself.
Yeah.
Right? Because I came to study English, and now I'm flying by myself. Like that's like, oh, that's happening now. And I flew for a few months in Langley, and because I was living in Vancouver downtown by the time, and it was a little bit far for me going to Langley all the time. And then I found another flight school in Pitt Meadows called Pacific Rim Aviation. And I went to an open house. I met the instructors, and I really like the flight school. So, okay, I'm going to start flying here. And I had a very good instructor. Now he's flying for WestJet. He's a captain of Q400. And he's Asian as well. English was not his first language. He was very patient with me. He teach me a lot of what I know nowadays. And yeah, so I did my whole training at Pitt Meadows.
CPL multi IFR?
No, just the CPL.
Okay.
They didn't have the multi IFR program at that time. I just did my CPL, my commercial pilot license training there.
Yeah. So you got your CPL there at Pitt Meadows, And then, so when did you move to Toronto?
So I moved to Toronto. So it was 3 years ago. So probably 2018,
Okay. So
around there.
just to go back to Vancouver for a minute there too. I know you're pretty heavy into mountain biking.
Yeah, I am.
So you're a bit of you're a bit of a cross country guy, enduro guy a little bit, right? So you started mountain biking in Vancouver?
No, I mountain bike before in Brazil.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah, I used to do some races when I was 15 years old,
Okay.
but it was more like cross country, nothing crazy like in Vancouver,
Yeah.
like all mountain, downhill style.
Pretty
So when
crazy
I moved,
biking scene in Vancouver, right?
oh no, that's amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
I remember when I started riding in Vancouver, doing things with the downhills and those crazy trails. I said, "Oh, that's crazy, man! How I can do it?" With the same synchronization, that applies for everything. The same synchronization because the mountain biking, I saw those trails. How people can go down these trails? Like it's hard even to walk. How are
yeah.
you gonna go down a mountain biking? Like that's impossible.
Yeah.
So it's about dedication and training, and more training. You're gonna fail, you're gonna crash, you're gonna hurt yourself, But yeah, Vancouver is an amazing place for
Yeah.
mountain biking.
So 3 years ago you moved to Toronto. What brought you to Toronto?
I came here because it's the biggest city and there are more opportunities for pilots.
Okay.
That's why I decided to come here.
So you didn't have a job here or anything like that. You just decided to move over, or how did that work?
By that time, I was working for Canada Post,
Yep.
and I request transfer to Toronto.
Okay.
But they didn't have any spot available, but they said I have in Ottawa. You wanna go to Ottawa? Then, yeah, sure. It's closer to Toronto, and then I can apply again to go to Toronto, right? So when I moved to Toronto, first to East Coast, I went to Ottawa first.
And you were working for Canada Post in Ottawa.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. And then you've got a transfer to Toronto.
No, I didn't.
Oh, you did?
So when I was working in Ottawa, I saw an ad to start flying for a jump pilot.
Where?
That was in Toronto, Skydive, Toronto.
Oh, no. All right. Yeah.
So I went there, but I didn't have any experience flying skydiving, right?
Yeah.
So I went there from Ottawa, I drove and said, okay, you have to do a course. Actually, you have to pay for the course.
Yeah.
And they say, oh, I'm going to pay. I have to pay. Otherwise, like, how am I going to get experience? Nobody's going to hire me if I don't have any experience, right? So I have to pay for the course. And I was driving every weekend from Ottawa to Barrie every weekend.
Yeah.
Back and
Wow.
forth. Yeah.
It's like a 4-hour drive.
4 hour drive each way. If there is no accidents or anything else, right? Like nothing happened. And I did the course. I started flying for them for a little bit. I was not getting too many hours. And I make some contacts and I get opportunity to bring airplane from Mexico to Canada. One of the instructors, the jump instructor at the drop zone, says, Mel, I need someone to bring airplane from Mexico. Could you do that? But you need your US license because the airplane has a US registration. I said, I don't have my US license, but I can see what I can do. I can try to get my US license as soon as I can. And so, yeah, if you can get your license, so I need to bring airplanes from Mexico. You want? Yeah, sure. Wait, don't give that opportunity for anybody else. I'm going to get my US license. Again, nothing is easy in this life. Everything needs dedication and very hard work. I went to websites. I did my research how to get my license, and I see I have to send some documents to US to FAA. I sent all the documents. They approved my documents. They said, okay, you have to come do a written test, right? So I went there one day, got off from work. I went there, I did my written test, and now you have to see a person who's going to verify all your documents. You're going to verify your tests, and he's going to sign you off. You're going to get your license, right? But again, I just went to Google, tried to find somebody that could do that. I found one guy in Buffalo, close to Buffalo, it's called Manchester.
Yeah.
About like 4 hours driving from
Ottawa.
For Ottawa.
Yeah.
And the guy said, "Yeah, I can meet you." That I think was like probably like Tuesday, Wednesday. I can meet you on Friday. Can you come here Friday? I said, "Yeah, sure." We have to be willing to do what I have to do, right? To get where you want. So I drove there another 4 hours on Friday to get my license, my US license. He verified all my tests, everything.
PPL or CPL?
That was CPL.
An American CPL. All right.
American CPL. I had to do a written test for my CPL and for the IFR as well.
Okay. When did you get your IFR rating?
I got just back in Vancouver. I got in Vancouver in another flight school.
Oh, you went. So you went from Ottawa back to Vancouver to.
No, but that was way before I came to Ottawa.
Oh.
So right after I got my CPL in Vancouver.
Yeah.
I went to get my IFR rating. My IFR rating.
And where did you get that?
It's called Delta Airport.
Okay.
In Vancouver.
And what was the name of the flight school? Do you remember?
The flight school? Oh no, I don't have the name now. I don't remember the name now.
And you did your multi-rating there too?
Yeah, I did.
So you did the multi-IFR flight test then?
Everything there, yeah.
Yeah.
On that flight school in Delta Airport. So all my training was done in DC. Right. Everything. Before I moved into Ottawa, I had everything already with me.
Right. Okay, so you just got your American CPL, you wrote the test and whatnot. So I know now that there's two things that you do. You work at Pratt & Whitney.
Yeah.
And you also fly jump plane at Skydive Ontario.
Yeah.
Right? And I know you do some other contract work too, flying some bigger airplanes like Sherpa. So maybe you can just talk a little bit about when you started working for Pratt & Whitney and how you ended up at Skydive Ontario.
Yeah, sure. So when I was leaving Ottawa, I got that job flying here. Then I got the opportunity to fly for Skydive Ontario as well. But the owner asked me to fly more often. I have to move to Ontario then. But at that time, I didn't get any transfer from Canada Post from Ottawa to Ontario.
Yeah.
I have to quit to come here.
Yeah.
Again, I have to quit another good job. And then because the government job, people say, oh, that's great. Like, you shouldn't quit that job, right? So I came to Toronto and they start flying jump planes for Skydive Ontario. 4 hours flying Skydive Toronto, and then I quit that and start flying Skydive Ontario. Just give a quick review here.
Yeah.
And I was looking for jobs in Toronto because I was just flying on the weekends. That was not enough to pay the bills, right? I saw a posting for an open house at Pratt & Whitney in Mississauga. I went there. I dropped my resume. I was not expecting too much because I don't have any experience in aviation besides my internship in Brazil. But for some reason, they liked my resume because I had a lot of experience working in maintenance, working with my hands, tools. They invite me again for interview and the test. So I went well in the interview and the test, everything, and they invite me. They offer me to work there. They said, "No, do you want to come to work for us?" So the salary was not the best one. Yeah, because I didn't have any experience. I started working for them, building turbine engines. There's turbofans.
How long have you worked there now? You've worked there so when did you get this job? How long have you been there?
So it will be 2 years.
Okay.
Yeah, right after I moved everything happened so quick. I moved to Ottawa. I quit my job there. After 10 months, I quit my job. I moved to Toronto. And then 2 months after, I got that job at Pratt & Whitney. And then when I got my job at Pratt & Whitney, people ask the same question: how did I get a job there? Because if you don't know anybody inside, it's hard to get a job there. The same thing. Just try and apply. Doesn't hurt.
So you work on turbine engines, or you like build them?
I build them
Right.
from scratch.
Wow.
Right. So mainly I work on the turbine section, the fans, and the compressor. I build this area, and then somebody else build the whole engine together.
You like it?
I love it. Yeah, it's awesome. It's fun. It's aviation, right? Anything related to aviation that makes me happy. And just going back here, flying for the drop zone for Skydive Ontario, and we have a chief pilot. He flies for this other company called Win Aviation, and they do contracts in Canada. They fly military contracts.
They're US. They're US based.
Yeah, they're US based.
Yeah,
but the contracts are in Canada.
Mm-hmm.
So one day I fly with this chief pilot. I was flying airplane. It's called Skyvan.
Yeah.
And I was in the right seat, and I asked them, just flying for fun, like he was doing a flight or one day, a special flight on the drop zone. And I asked him, can I go fly with you? And yeah, sure. He said, yeah, sure, you can come with me. When I was flying with him, I asked him, can I log these hours in my logbook? It'll be great. I have a US license, and that would be a great experience for my logbook. And he asked me, oh, do you have a license you have a US license? I said, yes, I do. Oh, I need a co-pilot in 2 weeks. I'm going to be flying a bigger plane than this one that needs 2 pilots. Would you like to come? I said, yeah, why not? Sure. And said, but you have to get a rating for this airplane. I said, how can I get? I'll have to I'll give you the training, have to go to US and get the paperwork done. Yeah, I can do that. But you have 1 week to do this. See, I'm going to get that done. Again, I always like that. Again, I'm going to get that done in 1 week, right? So, yeah, I have to leave work. I asked for leave without pay just to get everything done.
Yeah.
So, because I didn't have vacation by that time, and I asked my boss, I need to leave for a week, personal reasons. I don't have any vacation, but I don't mind going without paid. The thing, I was willing to do any sacrifice to get to where I want, right? So I left without paid. And I went to US, get everything, the paperwork done. And in 1 week, I was flying that airplane Sherpa. And since then, every time they have a contract in Canada, they call me to fly for them. So sometimes you have to be in the right place, have to talk to the right person, and have to be willing to do whatever it takes to.
And recognize an opportunity when you come across it.
Exactly.
Yeah.
The thing is about ask, and ask. Don't be shy to ask. So sometimes you are shy to ask because you don't want to answer that answer. No, that single word, right? No, you don't like it. Nobody likes that word. No.
Yeah. If somebody says no, you're back in the same position you started in, right?
Exactly.
Right. So, you got about 1,000 hours now or so? Is that where you're?
Yeah, I mean, close to 1,200 hours now.
So what are your aviation goals? I know we're in a pretty tough time right now with this pandemic, and you got a lot of people that have been let go from WestJet, Air Canada, and a lot of those people have kind of found themselves back in instructing jobs and things like that. So there aren't a lot of jobs available, but I'm pretty sure it'll turn around again. And so what are your aviation goals? Where do you see yourself in 5 years? What do you want to do?
Yeah, so as you said, the aviation now is down. That's always, right? The aviation is ups and downs.
Yeah.
That always happens.
Yeah.
And I'm still flying for Skydive Ontario. I'm going to be flying again one more season in 2021. And my goals, I would love to fly corporate jets.
Yeah?
Yeah. So if I had that opportunity to fly corporate jets, would be great. That's my goal. But let's say if I get the opportunity flying for airline as a second in command, it also is a good opportunity because I'm going to be flying jets, and then to jump from airline to a corporate jet is easier.
Mm-hmm.
But we have more experience flying turbines, right? So nowadays, as I said, the aviation, there's not many jobs. So whatever is available out there, so we have to do, right? To keep it, to keep flying, to keep the, how can I say, to keep the dream,
Yeah.
right? And I do some ferry flights sometimes. There's opportunities to fly airplanes around. Now I'm going to be flying one airplane from Ontario to Calgary. Yeah, I flew some airplanes from Mexico, flew airplanes to US. You just have to go out there, put yourself in a position. It's not comfortable asking people.
Mm-hmm.
That's not comfortable. Nobody like that, right? So, you have to go out there, put yourself in a position. Like you'll be in a comfortable position and ask for jobs or talk to people. Sitting at home just in the computer looking for jobs, send emails, that doesn't help.
No.
Because so many people are doing that, as you said, so many pilots nowadays are off jobs. The probably they're doing is sitting at home, sending email for jobs. I know a lot of people, a lot of airlines, recruiters, they like when you go in person
Yeah.
to introduce yourself and
Face-to-face communication.
Yeah,
We lack a lot of that these days.
it is.
The way
Especially if now this pandemic, everything locked down, people might not want to see you.
Yeah.
Right? So, it's a little bit hard enough.
Yeah.
But as I said, we'll turn out the aviation. We're gonna get better.
Yeah.
It might take 1 year, 2 years, 3 years. Who knows?
Yeah. It'll come back. So, Izzy, you got a lot of energy, man. So, what's your secret? Why do you have so much energy? Like, what are you eating?
Oh, my secret. I think the first thing is get better with your let's say your body. Yeah, you have to. I think the first thing is like, let's say, eat good. Yeah, you have to eat like healthy, drink a lot of water.
Mm-hmm.
And,
exercise too, right? You get a lot of exercise, I guess, don't you?
I do. So, because when you are happy with your body, everything goes well.
Yeah.
That I think the first thing I think you have to take care of your body. Because if you have health, if you're healthy, have a lot of energy to go out there and put yourself in some positions that are uncomfortable.
Yeah.
You have to go and how can I say? Yes.
You find that with the exercise, you find that you think that, oh, I don't want to burn this energy because I need the energy or whatever. But really, like when you go out, like before we talked this morning, I went out and I went for a run, right? And
how do you feel?
Oh, I feel great, right? Like it's just something that I've sort of found that even when I don't feel like doing something, when I'm like, oh, I don't really feel like I have enough energy, going and right now, obviously with the pandemic, the gyms are closed and whatnot. I like to swim laps. I like to go to the pool. And running something, I don't do that often just because I'm not sure about the pounding on my body, like when I'm running and whatnot. And that's why I did a lot of mountain biking before in the past anyway, because I didn't have the pounding, and with the swimming, you don't really have that same force on your body when you're running. But yeah, that exercise that I get combined with healthy eating actually gives me more energy, makes me feel more aware in my head. And it sort of maybe contradicts what some people think, that if they go for a run, they're not going to have the energy to go for a flight or something like that. Right?
No.
So
I work out every morning before. The first thing I do, actually the second thing I do is work out. The first thing is drink a glass of water. First thing I do in the morning. And even before eating anything, I work out every morning. And my day is way better. The day I don't work out in the morning, maybe because I'm late or I have something else to do.
Yeah.
Yeah, and like it's not the same.
No.
I don't have the same energy.
Yeah, I get it.
But yeah.
Right on. So, Izzy, you're a multi-IFR rated commercial pilot, 1,200 hours. I know you've got a drone license as well, and I know you're really into drones, and you're still into RC planes and whatnot. You're a mountain biker. You've got a really positive personality, man, and you've worked hard to get where you are. And I'm pretty confident that you're gonna keep working hard, and I'm sure you'll end up where you want to be someday. So thanks a lot for talking to me this day. Really appreciate you coming on, making time this morning. And
thank you for inviting me. That was my pleasure. It's awesome.
Yeah,
I like sharing. I like sharing my experience, like how hard it was to get to where I am nowadays, but just to show that it is possible.
Yeah, you got a great story.
Yeah,
and your battle with English and all that, and getting through that, like, just took a lot of perseverance, and here you are. So, thanks again, man. And I'm sure we'll be seeing you around.
Yeah.
And enjoy your day. We'll talk to you soon.
Thank you very much. Yeah, you too. Talk to you soon.
All right, Izzy. Take care, buddy.
Thank you, you too. Bye.
See ya.